Well, would you look at those Baltimore Ravens? This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 191 of the Anthem podcast. It is 5:12 Pacific time. That makes it 8:12 Eastern Standard Time. And Anthem is live from coast to coast on YouTube. But maybe not. Hey, there we are. Now we're live.
Do you want to go through that all again?
Yeah. So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 191 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from high above the 110 freeway in beautiful downtown Los Angeles, California. It is 5:12 Pacific time. That makes it 8:12 Eastern Standard Time. And the Anthem is live from coast to coast.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, retweeting, any number of things that you do. Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus if you're feeling fancy. Instagram, all at the Anthem. You can find Rob at Robert N. Cheek everywhere, and me at Legend CB5 everywhere. So thank you so much.
And of course, if you're joining us for the live stream, which you absolutely should, you can find that at youtube.com/show-the-anthem/live every single week. You can join us and be part of the show in the comment section. But you can also text the listener line. What's that number?
443-219-7595.
So make sure you join us there to be part of the show every single week. As you saw on our opening splash, if you checked out that, always come and hang out with us early. This week, we're going to be talking about the Justice League. We're going to be talking about the Senate passing a tax bill, or something like that anyway. The latest on Flynn, General Flynn and Trump and the news that's happening there. And, of course, all your latest Baltimore news, because we are, despite being on the West Coast, your Baltimore podcast.
Yes, indeed.
So where do you want to get started today, Corey?
Well, let's start with the Justice League. Let's just get the most depressing part out of the way first.
Let's take a hot 40 minutes right off the top to argue about Justice League. So first I want to say, in the last 2 weeks, you and I have seen 4 movies, which is astounding. That's probably more than I've seen in the entire year before this.
And we have Movie Pass to thank for that.
Absolutely. And I know I've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, but as you're seeing this, you can go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/Robert N. Cheek, Rob Cheek, and you can check out my review of Movie Pass, what it was like to use it the first time, so you know what you're getting into. But clearly, we've used it 4 times in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Totally worthwhile. And Justice League, after walking out of it...
I mean, especially if you're in Los Angeles. Like, so we went to... the Regal twice.
Yes, and $17 a pop.
$17 as opposed to $10 for Movie Pass. So if you got Movie Pass and only once every 2 months, every 2 months, you're still pretty much paying.
Yeah. And on top of that, we got to go to 2.
We could figure out the math where it was 1.7 times.
Yes. But who only goes to 1 movie a month if it's technically free?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just go whenever.
And we also got to go to 2 classic theaters. We got to go to the Vista Theater on Sunset, and we got to go to the Los Feliz 3 over in Los Feliz.
Yes.
Both of which, beautiful historic theaters. And I got to say that's probably the thing that makes me happiest, is that Movie Pass works at some of these great theaters that we get to check out.
Yeah, and I love the fact that because essentially the Movie Pass business model right now is lose money.
Yeah.
I can go to these... not like struggling chains, but I mean like, these small normally mom and pop owned vintage cinemas and support them.
Yes.
Like full fare.
They're getting all of the money they should get for the ticket, and I'm paying $9.95 a month. By the way, $6.95 if you pay the full year now. So I wish we had some kind of sponsorship where we get people hooked up. We are talking about it a lot. But we saw 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yep, that was very good.
I thought was fantastic. We were a little bit split on that. We saw Lady Bird, which I think we both agreed was one of the better movies we've seen this year.
That's an Oscar contender.
Yeah, and then and also made me... what is it everybody said? It feels like you should call your mom when you walk out of there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the mother that I have, everybody. So just watch that and you'll know what it was like growing up in my house. But finally, we saw Justice League this week. I'm glad we didn't struggle and sit through a packed movie theater the first weekend. But what were your thoughts about Justice League?
I just don't... I think part of the flaw of all the DC movies so far has been they're trying to catch up so quickly.
Yeah.
That none of these were allowed to be given the space that they need to be creative.
There's no breathing room. It's rushing to get to the thing.
So I read something that Christopher Nolan said that is pretty much right on with what my opinion of Justice League was when we had walked out of it, which is that it just looked like nobody had enough time to do what they needed to do.
Right.
Like
yeah.
the And again, I'm not trying to call the special effects lazy, because they are certainly better than anything that we would have grown up on.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But I mean, like, there's moments where you would see things where it was just like, well, I bet you they wish they had another month to work on this.
Yeah.
As opposed to probably they just got a movie, like the special effects house, like got the movie brought in, and it's just like, all right, we need this in 3 weeks. And they're like, 3 weeks? It's got to be released in December. Come on, we got 3 weeks.
Okay, all right.
Well, all right, we'll do 3 weeks worth of work on it.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
One of
it
my
just
comments
all seemed very lazy.
Superman looked the way that Neo looked in the second Matrix movie.
Yeah,
you can tell where they pull out of the shooting Henry Cavill and then go to the special effects of Superman, and that is the one thing that bothered me more than anything else. But if you had to give this movie a rating out of 5, I think we were trying to do it out of 5. What is your rating out of 5?
Somewhere between a 1 and a 2.
Right. And that is a super low rating.
Yeah.
I said 3.5. Would recommend for most people to go see. You would not recommend for people to go see it.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, wait for it. I mean, it's gonna be on something sooner rather than later. Like whether it's Netflix or if you have HBO Go. I mean, like Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like I saw Batman and Superman and felt so hurt. Like with how bad it was. Like I felt like it was an affront to my sensibilities.
And I keep trying to push this, that they're doing a very specific line of the comics.
A bad
and
one.
It makes sense. They're not doing a bad one. They picked a Batman who thought for sure he wanted to be Batman when he signed the contract. And by the way, does not want to be Batman.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck wants nothing more in this world than to be done with his Batman movie so he can move on with his life.
I honestly think that DC and Warner need to seriously sit down and consider just starting over.
Just rebooting the whole thing.
Kill everything.
No, but not everything, because I think you got to keep Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. She's done a fantastic job. Zack Snyder.
I feel like you wait just because it's like all those years that Clyde Drexler played on the Portland Trailblazers. It's like you have one of the best players ever on your terrible team.
Yeah.
At some point, you're just gonna have to get rid of him. You're gonna have to learn to let him go and start over. And you got to start fresh. You got to go completely from the bare bones. And that's Gal Gadot leaving. I loved her. See, here's the thing. I loved her in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
In as much as you can love anybody in a disposable superhero movie.
Make sure you put those comments and complaints to Corey at otheanthem.com or at LegendCB5. You'll find it right at the bottom of the screen right here. You can send your comments there.
But like, it feels like the subtitle for Justice League, rather than like whatever it was, like All In or something like that, should have just been "Shut Up, Woman," because like Wonder Woman was so like deballed throughout this entire experience, and I feel like you kind of ruined Wonder Woman.
The comment
you had the one good thing, and then you ruined it.
The comment I was going to make is, hey Zach, hey Joss, maybe give a call to the director of Wonder Woman and say, hey, what did you do that you got so right about this film? Come in, read the portions that are about Wonder Woman, and say, fix this for me. And by the way, fix the costumes, because I agree with you. I didn't want to concede the point, but if no one had said anything, I probably would not have noticed. But once I heard it and then I looked at it, I'm like, you really have sexed up costumes that went from powerful women to the weaker. The Amazonians look ridiculous in this.
Yeah, the Amazons look like they all came from like the. I've been watching a lot of Entourage at night, falling asleep to Entourage. It feels like you just got the extras from Entourage to come to be Amazons.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like, put on this medieval looking shit.
And if you know where all the misogyny is coming from, it's sneaking in his sleep. Clearly, that's where it is. But it's they had one great thing. They had Wonder Woman that did so well this year.
Mm.
Why don't you bring in as a consultant? You know, she probably would have done it for free. Just come in and don't ruin my damn character. You know what I mean? Like, if you're well, first of all, they should have probably given the rewrites to her. Why do you not say, hey, Zach's out?
Well, I don't think Patty Jenkins did the rewrites or did the writing on Wonder Woman.
Well, no, but I think she did. Pretty sure she did.
I don't think so.
You go ahead and look that up. But nonetheless, so they took Wonder Woman and they did a lot of bad things they could with her. I liked Cyborg. You did not like Cyborg.
I mean, it's not that I didn't like him. I just didn't really see the point.
This Barry Allen is one of my favorite comic book characters across or movie movie displays of a comic book character across all of Marvel and DC and anything else combined. I think this kid nails Barry Allen so well.
By the way, we it's written by 4 different people.
Okay.
But we got some story by Zack Snyder on
Oh,
this.
Jesus. All right. Well, that's because
And Alan Heinberg and Jason Fuchs.
Okay.
So we have, and then obviously William Marston created
The
Wonder
character.
Woman.
Yeah.
So he's got a good
So we had 4 guys writing a script.
Yeah. But I mean, like, at least I really think that probably Patty Jenkins had more to do with it. Because, you know, when you get a script, even if it is a DC script, you have a little bit of options to play off of it a little bit. So like, I don't really want to do those.
Get us to this point. This is where we have to be for the next movie. But,
right.
And that's where Zack Snyder came in. He figured out where we have to be for Justice League, and that was apparently not in a good place. But it is, despite
I think you got to start over. Because I like, the only person I like is Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Yeah. You didn't like Barry Allen as the guy who's playing the Flash.
I just didn't like Ezra Miller's decisions. I mean, it's not that I think he's a bad actor. I just don't think he made very good decisions.
And I disagree. I think that he played the character exactly how I wanted him to play it. He was the embodiment of Barry Allen, the Flash. I
disagree, but you know, we're allowed to do that.
And the guy who played Cyborg was excellent.
I thought he was good. I didn't really. Cyborg just felt so jammed in here.
Yeah, and he was. They needed a Superman. I think I told you this. They needed a Superman who wasn't Superman to do all the things that Superman would do.
And it also felt like they like Zack Snyder and the rest of the DC team was like looking at it. It's just like, all right, Justice League. We got the Flash, we got Superman, we got Batman, and we got Wonder Woman. So it's like, oh shit, there's not a single black person in this movie. Who's a black superhero? Cyborg. All right, sure. Let's put Cyborg.
And for those of you guys who know the Teen Titans, one of the reasons I loved Barry Allen in the movie is he takes kind of the place of Beast Boy, and he and Cyborg have this budding bromance that I really, really enjoy. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile for that. And Jason, and I know that this has been going around on social media, and now I saw the stills, but now seeing the movie, how do you see Henry Cavill and Jason Momoa, and you go, you know what, Blake Shelton, sexiest man alive right now? I cannot comprehend that decision.
I don't get it. I mean, like, I honestly think that if you there were times in Wonder Woman where Gal Gadot was like dressed up in like sort of like an Annie Hall inspired outfit, like where she was like in man clothes.
Right,
like feminine man clothes.
She's like, I don't wear dresses.
Yeah,
give me the
I think
pants.
she's more of a sexiest man alive than Blake Shelton.
Yes.
Like almost everybody in this movie was probably sexier than Blake Shelton.
Probably not Ezra Miller.
I mean, like, I just feel like if it was like, like we have that we've talked about before, where it's like if it's famous enough, it's not like I'm gay.
Yeah.
Like if I came in and I said I had sex with Brad Pitt, your first response wouldn't be like, "Ooh, you had sex with Brad Pitt." You'd be like,
"Brad Pitt?
How did that happen?" Yes. Like, I feel like there's if I was a woman, if I was a heterosexual woman, I imagine that everybody who was in Justice League would be ahead of Blake Shelton on like the sexiest man list.
I think so,
including Gal Gadot. It's just like I would rather go gay with Gal Gadot than sleep with Blake Shelton. Yeah. I think that would be on the level of yeah.
And I'm looking at Jason Momoa's tattoos. I want to get one of those damn South Pacific tattoos. Like they look so good.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's going to be the thing now, right? That's going to be the thing that the bros get now.
Yeah, they're just going to get full sleeves of
the tap tattoos.
Yeah.
Assholes.
See, the problem is that like at least none of the tattoos in Justice League should be copied.
Yes.
In any of the extended universe, so either like nobody should get like a ha 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 Joker tattoo like Jared Leto.
Somebody does though.
Oh wait, somebody does. Somebody's like, he's the best Joker ever.
And you didn't like him.
Meanwhile, we look at the power ranking, and he's somewhere between third and fourth best Joker.
Cesar Romero, better or worse?
I would say better, but I mean, I'm a classic.
Yeah. But anyway, so overall, Corey was not a fan of Justice League.
Yeah, don't do it to yourselves. Don't bother spending the time.
To the next level of
it's the type of thing that you watch at a party that somebody just puts on, and you kind of like are in and out of. That's the best viewing experience of Justice League.
I disagree.
Somebody just has HBO on and it plays like 4 months from now.
Yeah.
And you just happen to like sit down on the couch and play with a dog and you're just like, oh, I'll watch a little bit of Justice League. And then you're like hearing like crazy things like to distract your attention from Justice League every so often. So like, you'll be sitting there and you'll just be like, man, Affleck really doesn't want to be here. And then you'll hear from across the room just like, Becky, don't take your shirt off. And then you'll look away. You'll be distracted by that for a while. And then you'll come back and you'll be like, all right, what's going on with Justice League? Oh, it's still no plot. Good. Thanks.
I did say that if this movie was made in the 30s, Affleck would have been drunk the entire time. Like that's how disjointed his acting is. And you could tell also we were talking about Henry Cavill.
I feel like we can did you listen to the most recent season of You Must Remember This?
No, I want to bulk it. I put it all together.
One of our favorite podcasts, You Must Remember This. It's like old Hollywood history. I feel like you can just replace Bela Lugosi with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
And like anytime they talk about like any movie he was in, just replace it with Justice League. It'll be basically the same thing. It's like he was desperate to do anything for money and drinking.
And like
Ben Affleck, just desperate to get out.
We were talking.
He agreed to do it for $50.
Henry Cavill said if he was going to be Superman, he doesn't want to do anything that wasn't natural. So he ate well and he worked out. And they asked Jason Momoa the same question. He was like, "Oh, I have a regimen," and like we're like, "Well, regimen probably means a couple shots in the morning and then some hours in the gym and whatever." But Henry Cavill was all natural. That's the way he wanted to do it. And then Ben Affleck, not shirtless at all the entire movie because he's just like, "Fuck it, I don't care. Put me in a tight shirt." With a Scott Steiner six-pack on the outside.
Just get one of those vests that help keep it in, help maintain.
It just spanks with the muscles over top of the shirt.
The vest is from the Dude Maintain collection.
But so are you out for DC Universe now? I mean, we know that Wonder Woman 2 is coming. Are you in for that or no?
I mean, at this point, everything is on probation.
Okay.
I mean, like, I feel like if part of what brought me in for Wonder Woman in the first place was everyone was saying it was so good.
Yeah.
So I went to go see it, and I thought, yeah, this is good. If I hear somebody say that, like, the new
Batman's up next,
standalone Batman with Ben Affleck who doesn't care, like, if somebody tells me it's good, then I might go see it. But if I hear bad reviews like this, I'm just gonna.
Although
either that or just wait until like a Tuesday when I got nothing going on, I can see it during the day because I got Movie Pass.
I was gonna say, but we have Movie Pass, so there's like no risk involved. And that's the thing is,
here's the thing. Like at this point, I feel like Movie Pass is not about like. I would probably see most of the movies I get. So before movies, when we're watching the trailers, I have a very clear system. Thumbs up, I want to see it. Thumbs down, I do not want to see it. And then sort of like the
I need more information.
Yeah, which means like if I hear really great reviews and people are saying like that this might be something special, I'm probably going to see it. This is basically like I have Movie Pass, so I'll probably see it anyway now. But like there's some things I just don't want even money to go towards. Like
okay.
I don't want a corporation paying on behalf of me for this movie.
Right.
Like I'm not going to see Jumanji. I don't need it.
By the way, Jumanji,
I don't need that making money.
Jumanji has like a 40-60, 30-70 split with some of the smaller theater chains to get them to carry it. So yeah. That disjointed hand that just came in. Although it's actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's just like it just gets Hulk big all of a sudden.
But yeah, like so. Even though you're,
this is gonna how I'm just gonna be like if anyone ever doubts I have big hands, just like it's the size of Rob's face.
If you go see Jumanji at like Los Feliz 3, they're getting 70% of that ticket instead of the usual 50-50 split. So
depending on when you see it. So if you go the first couple weeks are the movies. If you go opening weekend, most of the money that comes in goes to the theater or goes to the distributor, and the studio and stuff like that. If you go see Jumanji in its 5th week of release, assuming that it makes it to 5 weeks, then you're paying the theater more than you're paying the studio,
right?
So like when I go see Justice League, I don't want to see it in week 1 or 2. I want to see it in week 3 because I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't want Warner Brothers to feel emboldened by their choices.
Didn't we went week 2 though? Or is it week 3?
This is week 3.
Okay, yeah, so it was week 3. Yeah.
Technically Friday of the 3rd week.
Yeah.
So
it
had 2 full weeks.
Oh, and not a good 2 weeks.
No.
Yeah.
But it's still going to make money. So, fuck you guys.
Just not as much as they wanted it to.
Yeah.
But so
they're not going to be able to buy a small island somewhere, but they will be able to get their head out from underneath this, assuming that the advertising was like $1 billion for some reason.
Maybe. But speaking of something that was done in less than 2 weeks as well, the Senate finally took a vote on the tax bill, and by finally I mean they rushed it through in a single week, and they got it done. So for those of you who haven't been paying attention, which I will say off the top, I completely understand. Yeah. I think my theme for this
paying attention to this was just the worst thing.
Yeah, my theme for this week's show is why the fuck does it matter? Honestly, Justice League does not matter at all. They're gonna keep making DC movies. It doesn't really matter. They'll keep pumping it out. People will still keep.
Ezra Miller and Ben Affleck will be in them whether you like it or not.
I hope Ezra Miller gets his own standalone. But so they the House passed their tax bill, and at the same time, the Senate was given the same basic tax bill. And for those of you who get a little primer on the way that government works, they both get the same bill introduced, and then it goes through committees, and of course, those bills change over time. And the House passed a version that was much stricter than the bill that was initially introduced, and that's because there's a whole lot of small government deficit reduction people in the House. Yeah.
They're in for a surprise.
Yeah. So there are also a lot of guys who say that in the Senate, but the Senate bill ended up being much more extreme to the giveaways, but just not to the poor people. It's giveaway to the rich people, and the deficit's going to be hugely impacted, of course, over 10 years once they're all dead. So, so the Senate has their bill. The House passed their bill. The Senate, in regular order, which we'll get back to. Don't worry, because I have a couple comments.
That's quote unquote.
Yeah.
In case you're not watching the video.
If you're not, they sent it to committee. It passed out of committee, and within 4 days, they had a floor vote, and the straight up and down vote went to along party lines, basically along party lines, but enough that it passed. And
there was only one holdout on it, right?
I think so. One Republican voted with the Democrats.
Like was it Corker or something like that?
Was not Corker. I think he went along with it. Markowski went along with it as well. Corey can look up the vote. But in the end, this is the result. The Senate bill that was passed, and basically what the House is going to try to do is to take the Senate bill and force it through the House so that they don't have to go to conference committee and work things out. Because when it goes to conference, you have equal numbers of both parties and people from both houses, and no bill will come out of that, and they know that. So if they can pass the Senate bill, so they have one bill, that will go on to the president for signature. The problem is that the tax bill that was passed,
Corker was the only one.
Was it Corker?
Was the only Republican who voted no.
There you go. Hey, so thank you, Bob Corker. Well, and sidebar on that, how did John McCain vote on that particular bill?
Yes.
He voted yes for the bill. Corey's great hero, the great hope for the American Republic, John McCain, voted yes for the tax bill. Color me surprised about that. John McCain, who said, "I will only vote for a bill if it goes through regular order." Just of note, this bill happened to have handwritten amendments on it because they couldn't print out new copies fast enough. And the handwritten amendments didn't make it into the final copy that the Senate got.
Just FYI.
Yes. Go ahead, FYI.
Aside from anything else, if you are a Democrat who is upset about this right now, you have to pick up 2 seats. You have a chance with
the Alabama seat.
The Alabama seat.
Yep.
If you want to help Doug Jones raise some money, then that now might be the time to do that.
By the way, the Doug Jones, who's running against a pedophile, who we talked about 2 episodes ago in episode 189, who is still not even within striking distance, leading by 6 points in Alabama.
It's a little bit tough to tell because there hasn't been any polling since Thanksgiving, but it looks pretty close.
Leading in the last polling, despite the fact that it's been alleged that he had inappropriate contact with 14-year-old girls. And then his defense was Adam and Eve were of 2 different ages or some Bible bullshit. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Alabama is really fun to look at from afar.
Listen, we'd be fine visiting there. You and I, we'd be totally, well, you especially. I mean, it'd be like going home to your people. But for me, at least I look like I belong there. That's, I'd be fine. So Alabama seat, what was the other seat?
Oh, another seat that we can pick up?
Yeah.
Oh, God, there's plenty, I imagine.
1/3 of them in 2018.
Yeah.
I was going to say, hopefully, John McCain's seat, because hopefully he dies quickly, and we won't be forced to
we
pay
won't
for
have
the medical
Corker
care.
anymore. We won't have... who's the other one who's not coming back?
Markowski?
No,
She
Murkowski's
probably won't come back though.
I mean, Claire McCaskill's an up there one. There's a lot of seats in flux, but here's my point. People are upset about the Senate tax bill right now, and I understand. I think that it's just coming out of the shadow of the biggest financial collapse that ever happened since the Great Depression. That was almost largely based off of the big corporate banks.
Yep.
And then basically giving everybody who works at those big corporate banks all the money.
Yep.
Is a bit of a shot in the dick. But here's where I'm going to give you your marching orders. If you don't like it, I understand that what you have to go by right now is calling your senator, tweeting them at 3 a.m, going like, "I thought I believed in you, Cory Booker," or whatever.
Yeah. Cory Booker did vote.
Oh, I know he did vote yes, but I'm saying like you can do whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like voting for Jeff Sessions, I'm sure he did that.
Yeah.
So you could just, "I thought you believed in liberty," and stuff like that. What you're going to have to start doing is you're going to have to start getting up in a lot of people's faces. And not just senators, but the people who help pay for the senators. Who's the billionaire, the Mercers who fund Breitbart?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Once it got discovered that the Mercers were responsible for running the mutual funds of like a bunch of colleges and universities, it started going that people started calling the colleges and universities and saying, "I'm never donating money to you again unless you take that money out of the Mercers fund." And then a whole bunch of people dropped out. And then the Mercers lost a little bit on their bottom line from that. And then people started going after and saying, we are not going to support anything that you do ever again if you continue funding Breitbart. And then, lo and behold, the Mercers back out of funding Breitbart.
Yeah.
Now, there's still other people who are funding this sort of thing. But the idea is that if you put enough pressure on all the people who are involved, then you're going to have a lot better success. You're not going to be, you can't, there's no way you're calling up Andy Harris saying that this is bad for America and having him say like, "Oh, you changed my mind." Like he's going to vote how he feel or like how he's supposed to vote every single time. There's no doubt about it. If you want to change something, you're going to have to get in the face of the person who can get in his face about it.
Right. Well, and this is what I don't understand.
And the problem here is the people who can get in the face about the tax bill are the people who are going to benefit from the tax bill. So they don't want to do that. But if you threaten to, I don't know, stand outside of somebody's house in the middle of the street where it's not against the law with a megaphone and say that Robert Mercer is responsible for 10,000 children dying from not having health care this year, blah, 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 and go on and on and on for perpetuity until he decides to call the cops on you, and then you can have that whole scene recorded. Yeah. And then you can try and draw Mercer out of his house and make a big scene out of it. Like now is the time for causing trouble.
Okay.
I think that's the only game we have left, and especially with net neutrality. I'm almost of the mind to say that if anybody who feels that they can do it without getting caught wants to hack every single email of every single congressman or senator who is about to vote on net neutrality and release all that information to the public just because, I imagine that a lot of people will change their minds on the net. If all of a sudden it's found out that Ted Cruz's entire email history, including naked pictures that he's been sending back and forth with Richard Blumenthal completely inappropriately, gets out there.
Well, to be clear, though, Congress isn't voting on net neutrality. That's just a rule that's being passed.
They're going to have to vote on the rule once it gets...
No, they don't. It's all internal rulemaking. So the FCC gets to make that rule. That's it. If Congress decides to make a law,
I just don't understand why the guy's name who I can't pronounce who runs the FCC.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
He used to be a Verizon lawyer. I don't understand how he hasn't been doxxed. Honestly, like I feel like now clearly regular order does not apply anymore because we pushed a bill with Post-it notes through at 1:00 Eastern time. So I think it's about time that if we're just all agreeing that the rules are bullshit and we're not going to do it anymore, let's just go all the way. Let's just have fun with it.
But
why don't you tell me what school his kids go to? I don't want to do anything about it. I just want to stand outside and look.
Why? First of all, I believe that I said this, I don't know, 10, 12. years ago, and I've been saying it for the last 10, 12 weeks at least. I've been saying the same thing. And you told me 10, 12 weeks ago, this is dangerous. We can't be doing this. We have to follow rule of order. What has changed your mind? What has changed in the last week that has made you come to this side?
I think the thing that's changed for me is the fact that the senators, in particular with the tax bill, have been so blatant about, if we don't pass this tax bill, then the people who fund our campaigns won't give us money anymore.
Yeah.
You can go online and find 5-10 senators who've said pretty much the same exact thing. Like, the people who pay for our campaigns want us to pass this, which is why we're going to pass it.
They're the ones who wrote it, after all.
So I just feel like what advantage do we have, the American people who don't like this, that the corporations don't, you know?
So what is the point? This is my question. This is the theme of the show this week. What is the point? What do we gain by doing any of that? What changes?
Well, I mean, let's for instance say that Ted Cruz has sent his dick out to 50 women.
Okay.
Via email.
Yeah.
And written a lot of emails that he doesn't want to get out in the public sphere.
Yep.
Then when Ted Cruz is doxxed and all that information is put on the internet for free, and anyone can read it anytime they want, and there's 100 Ted Cruz stories that come out, embarrassing him in front of his wife and children, then Ted Cruz will eventually have to drop out of the Senate.
Okay.
And then the next person who comes in is going to have to seriously consider whether or not they want to put themselves in the position that they are going to be exposed like this, or do they want to be an upstanding... I feel like if any senator... No senator should have voted for the tax bill.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much you want tax breaks for the rich, no matter how much you want the poor to pay for it, no matter how much you support dismantling Obamacare, all these things that happened inside the bill.
Right.
Just by rule of not regular order, every single senator should have voted no.
Right.
This is ridiculous. Nobody has even read this fucking thing.
Nope.
That should have been the reason why you voted no. Now, if somebody, if John McCain stood up in the middle of this thing at 1 a.m. and said, like, hey, delay the vote till Monday, we'll all read it, we'll come back, and we'll vote. And then if on Monday the same results happened, then it could be a slightly different story about, like, whether you believe certain things politically. But to push it through all in that one late night session...
Yeah, but he's your hero. He's
not.
The guy who's going to save the Republic.
I never said that.
Go back. It's got to be episode 183, 84, when we talked about the healthcare vote, and Corey raved ad nauseum about John.
I also said that he might stab me in the back later, but right now this is what I wanted to hear.
And what happened?
He did. He stabbed me in the back.
He did exactly what I said he was going to do. But let's say Ted Cruz gets doxxed. Let's say Ted Cruz gets doxxed.
Yeah.
Let's say that he drops out of the Senate. Who's going to replace Ted Cruz?
Another Republican is going to win Ted Cruz's seat.
Is it going to be a person of color from the inner city who's going to take that Senate seat?
Excuse me.
Is it going to be a person of color from the inner city who takes that seat?
Probably not.
Who's it going to be?
It's probably going to be another white guy.
Rich white guy. Old guy.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky, rich white old woman. But most likely rich white old guy.
But I'm saying if all the Republicans in Texas who have a chance of running for Ted Cruz's seat see how badly Ted Cruz was publicly shamed and embarrassed, then perhaps they don't want to run because they want the same thing to happen to them. And a lot of Republicans are dropping out right now and saying they're not going to run again. Bob Corker amongst one of them because they don't want to deal with the ever increasing scrutiny on them.
What is going to happen?
People know the name. I bet you more people now know the names of 10 senators than ever did before.
What is going to happen when Ted Cruz drops out and doesn't lose his seat, but says, "Hey, I'm stepping down. So you can have a special election, or I'm not going to run for re-election again next year." What happens to him personally?
I mean, nowadays nothing. He goes off. He works for Fox News, or he
becomes a lobbyist. Makes
more money
than he did in Congress.
Becomes a lawyer for like a figurehead lawyer on a big firm. Where he doesn't actually have to go to trial. He just sort of collects as being a partner. What
is the point?
Oh, this is what I'm saying. This doesn't end. Here's the part that everyone has to believe me. I'm a man of holding on to a grudge way too long. Everyone needs to adopt the same basic principle. if you feel that, and again, we're just using Ted Cruz as a name here, but if
Sure.
you feel that Ted Cruz is responsible in part for what happened here, then you have to basically follow Ted Cruz around for the rest of your life and threaten him at every opportunity again. Not physically threaten. I don't want this to be misconstrued as attack people because that's not right. But, if you want to find the law firm that Ted Cruz works for after the fact and do all kinds of you know what the one thing that would have annoyed me the most if a former employee had done when I worked at the restaurant? Call the health department every 2 weeks.
Sure.
Just 2 weeks, every Saturday, just go like, I think I saw a rat in Andy Nelson's. Just hang up the phone, and then health department comes rushing in.
Yeah.
And then we're in the middle of lunch rush, where we can't be as attendant to like picking up trash as we normally are, and then we got to scurry and get ready for the health department and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that if that happened all the fucking time, if it happened every single fucking week, then I would be like, who doesn't like us, and how can I make this stop?
Okay. But again, does that mean that he loses any of the money?
What?
Does he lose any of the money he's gained since he's been a senator?
No, but I'm saying
lose any of his wealth and power.
He loses power.
How?
If you make it so that Ted Cruz can't be hired anymore,
okay,
because he's such a toxic stain on anything that he touches,
but he still gets the benefit of all that work that he did in the Senate.
But I'm saying, like right now, we in the lieu of the Hollywood sex abuse cases and stuff like that, we talked about like, is there any chance that Harvey could ever work again? Is there any chance that Louis C.K. could ever work again? And blah 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 blah. With Harvey particularly, because the stink is so strong on him, I would say no. There's not really a chance that he ever works again.
Okay.
Because that stink will carry with him no matter what he tries to do.
True.
If he came to this apartment with a hat in his hand and he like was looking down, he's just like, I just want to produce movies again and I'll pay for yours and I just want it to happen.
Yeah.
Then you would go, no, I can't, like as much as I want you to just pay for the movie I want to make.
Yeah.
I can't, because as soon as it comes out that this is Harvey Weinstein's thing, then I'm just going to be a pariah too.
Okay.
So why would I do? So
he has to
make
back,
it so that
all the Oscars that he won.
No, but I'm saying
he had to get back all the money that he got.
If you can push, the basis of compelling reality television is pushing a person to a certain level of exposure, because no one's life can handle that much exposure.
Okay.
So if Ted Cruz gets the Harvey Weinstein treatment and every single little thing that he's done for the last 30 years is picked apart in public discourse, then Ted Cruz can't work as a lobbyist, because then the people who hate him will follow him there.
Okay.
The people who hate him will follow him to the law firm that he tries to work at. The people who hate him will follow him to the Cruz Foundation that he tries to run.
Okay.
I mean, it'll just continue, and this is the point is that we have to fight stronger and dirtier than they are, because this is the only way that we're going to ever be able to. Our only leverage is the fact that we don't have to be decent.
No, but that's not true. This is your change of position. You've been saying, no, we can't fight like them. We have to be better than them. We can't do that. But now you've changed and said, yes, we have to be just as bad and just as dirty as them. They only have a 40-year head start on doing this.
Yeah.
And now you want to try and keep up
their
with
dirtiness plays by the rules.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
They literally have sentenced thousands of people to death so that they can make a little more money.
Right.
They have gerrymandered districts so that they are going to stay in power. So it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So how does any of this actually matter?
Well,
how does any of it matter? How does ruining Ted Cruz make the life of any single American better?
So here's the thing. If we're going to be specific about it, then there's not unless a court brings up gerrymandering charges, it's technically not gerrymandering until it's actually brought before somebody to say this district was gerrymandered on racial basis.
True.
Then it doesn't really matter whether or not the thing looks like an elephant.
It doesn't. And you can't gerrymander based on party.
Right.
That's a natural, as long as it's not based on race or
I mean, you
ethnicity.
could gerrymander based on party if it just so happens that they're, like you're Maryland and you only have 20% Republicans, then you really can't make everyone split evenly. You have to just do it the best you can. And Maryland's, as much as, it does have its weird kooks and stuff like that,
which is designed to put all the Republicans in one district.
Right, but it does at least by the look of it, look more realistic.
Nah. It's not it's not a contiguous square, which
right.
is what the goal is.
What makes it difficult.
But that's not my point. What I asked you was, does ruining Ted Cruz or any of these people change one iota about an American's life? Does it improve someone's life at all?
Eventually.
No. How does it eventually improve anyone's life?
Because if you raise the bar on the people who are going to be willing to go in there, then you're going to change things.
No. How? It'll be the same party. It's the same people. They're going to do the same things. We have an oligarchy. Rich people electing rich people to make them all richer. That will not change.
If let's again, let me go back to Harvey real quick.
Okay.
Just because I feel like this is an easily digestible thing. So people really want to be right, and they want justice, and I think that part of what snuck up on Harvey was the fact that he was never going to be put in the position where he was going to get caught, or where he was going to be in the middle of this firestorm. He just figured that he was big and powerful, and he was able to have sex with whoever he wanted, regardless of whether or not they wanted to do it or not, and that he could, by sheer force, make what he wanted a reality. Mm-hmm. He could be a player on the Hollywood stage, regardless of how he looked. Mm-hmm. Obviously, all this is wrong and shouldn't be.
Right.
But I'm saying that the reason why people run for office is because that they think they can get some power, they can get some money, they can be seen as important figureheads in society, and they don't think that whatever bad thing has ever happened to a politician is going to happen to them.
Right.
Everyone goes in. Let's say Ted Cruz is sending pictures of his dick to 18-year-olds.
Okay.
Just to make it legal. 18-year-olds. He's watched all the Wiener coverage.
Yeah.
And he watched all the stories and watched his life come unravel.
But it's not
and
gonna
where
happen.
Wiener can't work anywhere.
Well, he's in jail now.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, like, even when he's out, it's not like Wiener is going to be able to become a lobbyist.
Yep.
Because people are going to be interested in what happens to him after he gets out of jail.
Right.
And when they figure out that he's trying to work for a lobbying firm, they're going to be like, Wiener and cigarettes, it all makes a big, and then that carries on and on. If you make it so that every single person, every single politician who doesn't vote from a place that they can easily discern, I believe that giving a tax break to the rich allows for the entire economy to grow. Mm-hmm. If you honestly believe that, if that's a place that you come from, and people know that about you before they vote for you, then I don't think you really have any right to be upset with them when they vote yes on this thing.
Okay.
But if it's somebody who backstabs you or who does not stand up for the rights that you feel that they set forth, then
Sure.
you have the right to go nuclear on them and ruin their lives.
Okay.
You have the ability. We all any politician right now who you're upset with, we all have the ability to Anthony Weiner them at any point if we wanted to. Let's just go for it.
Okay, but again, how does that improve? It's the same question I've been asking you now for the last 17 minutes.
Yeah.
How does that improve the life of any single American? Does it undo this tax bill, which is going to be in effect?
No, but I
in the
mean
next 10 years?
this tax bill is going to be, there's going to be another tax bill that comes.
No, they have to deal with this being law, and the at least the next 2 years, the implications, which are going to be another $50 to $60 billion in lost revenue.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've now set a new lower bar. We thought the Bush tax cuts were a low bar. This
Right.
is a lower bar.
Yeah.
So now they'll shoot even lower than this.
Yeah.
So how does doxing Ted Cruz or any of the 10 senators, which you can't name, how does that improve the lives of any American?
I'm just picking Ted Cruz because
It's
I assume
easy.
it's everyone's least favorite
low-hanging
senator.
fruit.
Yeah.
I get that. But how does any of this improve their life? That Ted Cruz loses his Senate career. Maybe he can't be a lobbyist. Maybe he can't be a lawyer. He's still going to be rich. He's still going to be white. He's still going to be benefiting from the next rich white guy who goes into the Senate and makes cuts on his behalf. How does it improve the lives of you or I or anyone else who's struggling to get by in this country?
It does nothing in the immediate aftermath.
Let's say 15 years from now. How does any of this?
How
does any of this change our life?
I can go out 15 years and change this.
We have been going for 17 minutes.
No, but
and
I'm
you
saying
haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, I certainly have said something. I said you got to
You said you're going to ruin individuals' lives.
Yeah,
I get that.
and scare
How
the
does that
people.
improve
Scare
my life?
Scare the people who are going to be coming afterwards.
They're not going to be scared. They're rich and white and powerful. They might lose their Senate seat. But they'll keep their money.
Every single one of them thinks that they're indestructible until they're not.
Okay.
And then
they walk away with the money, with the connections, with everything that they had and more than when they came in. Maybe they can't work in public again, but that doesn't impact their life. They will still be rich and white and powerful. And their buddies, ones who come in after them, will continue to look after.
Is Wiener still rich and powerful?
Yes.
How is he rich and powerful?
Because no matter what, he has been disgraced. Does that change his bank account at all?
It changes his ability to add to his bank account.
Okay.
He basically has the money that he's going to live off for the rest of his life right now.
Well, and
now,
you know what that is? That is what I'm going to make for the next 70 years times 50.
Yeah.
So what? So he has to live on the $50 million that he has in the bank currently right now. Oh, God. How is he ever going to make it?
$50 million in the bank.
The $7 million that he has in the bank right now. How is he ever going to make it? Let's say he has $1 million. I mean,
right.
$22,000 a year.
Yeah.
How many years will it take for me to make $3 million? 5 years for 100,000.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 10 for the first million. Mm-hmm. So that's 50 years to make $1 million. So it will take me 150 years to make $3 million. What Anthony Weiner has in the bank and has to live off of for the next 10 or 15 years that he has left. How does any of this change the lives of an average American one iota?
I would say that if you are able to make it, if you're able to make it serious and make it stick and let the people know, anybody who stands in the way of the desires that you have, and that's the problem. I mean, I will admit that the shady part of this is that nobody is going to be in charge of making the decisions for the mob.
Yeah.
That decides to dock senators, and this is just going to happen to Democrats as much as it's going to happen to Republicans.
Franken's gone down.
Yeah, but I'm saying my hope is that if you shame enough people who shouldn't be in office in the first place into dropping out or not running or making them pariahs for the rest of their lives, then eventually the hope is that you would get people who say, well, I don't have anything to worry about because I've never done anything. The Wayne Gilchrist of the world.
Right.
To run instead of Andy Harris. How much better would you feel about this, just put yourself back in District 1. How much better would you feel about your life right now if you had Wayne Gilchrist instead of Andy Harris?
How would Wayne Gilchrist have voted on this bill? It's a Senate bill, not a House bill, but how would he voted on this bill?
I think that this bill coming back right now, if it went to Wayne's desk, he'd vote no.
Okay. I disagree with that. Because although he was a blue dog Democrat or a fiscally conservative Republican, I think that in the end, the point of his life was about long-term deficits. And what has the Treasury said about this bill?
It's going to add $1 trillion to the deficit.
Right. No. Independent groups said it was going to add $1 trillion to the deficit. The Treasury is saying that it is budget neutral and that it is going to add $1 trillion to the economy. Because
they're not working off the bill that ended up passing. They're working off the first, the congressional version of the bill.
Is Wayne the guy who's going to stand up against irregular order? No.
No, but I'm saying
John McCain was supposed to be that guy. He's not that guy. Wayne Gilchrist would not be that guy.
Nobody signs up to be a senator or a Republican if they think that it's going to be them eating shit forever.
Okay. But why do they sign up to be a senator then? Why do they sign up?
Because they can use the advantages that they've had to run for office, make more money, raise their profile, maybe do something to make more money in the long run.
Yeah.
And I mean, like it's no longer about trying to like I grew up in a single mother household, and I want to make sure that all the single mothers out there have all the advantages that mine never did. That's why I'm running for office. Nobody does that anymore. They're all doing it for power. They're all doing it for the next step. Yeah. They're all doing it to improve their bottom line and improve the bottom line of the people who helped get them in the office in the first place. So if you want to drastically change the people who are willing to put up with that shit, then you're going to have to drastically change the mechanics of how they get in.
Okay,
and
but
who
that's not what you're
wants
proposing.
to run.
You're proposing doxing the people that get in there now. 23 minutes we've been discussing this, and not one answer for me about how this changes the life of an American living in America right now.
It doesn't.
None of it. None of these solutions do.
No,
because they lose nothing. They keep their money. They keep their power. They keep their influence, even if they can't exercise it. Even if they can't exercise it.
If you want to come up with the way that it changes immediately, then we're talking about some legally questionable things that would happen.
Extra legal. Building a guillotine out on the National Mall and dragging them out by their hair and one by one dropping a blade on their neck.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. If I recommended that to people on the podcast, then that would technically make me an accessory to something like that.
Why? I don't think we have the influence to try and cause a riot amongst our listeners.
But who knows? Maybe this is just the episode of the podcast that gets sent out to 100 million people. And then all of a sudden,
and I hope people listen to me and say, read about the French Revolution and find out what happened and realize that we are there now. At the point when the French Revolution happened, there was a great push of wealth from the middle class, from the lower class, to the upper class, which is just what happened with that Senate bill.
But I'm saying if someone were to take the French's lead on this sort of thing and follow in their footsteps in similar manners, that the people who you were going for is not just Ted Cruz. No. It is, whoever the CEO of Verizon is right now.
Right, yeah. Or somebody needs to study up on their French history. That's exactly what happened. It was government officials.
Oh, no, I'm saying
bourgeoisie and above.
Yeah, I'm saying
shop owners.
I'm expressing to the listeners that if something like if you really wanted to make change, it's not just 100 heads that have to fall. It's
a lot,
thousands of heads.
Yeah. So just be willing. Check out the Revolutions podcast, which I recommended a lot last year, and Corey hated every time I did it. But the one on the French Revolution will explain everything that happened during the 1789 to 1779 to 1788 or so. You should check it out. It's very interesting. But you know what else is very interesting is that our president found suit this week to sent out a tweet in reference to General Flynn, who just took a plea deal, that probably sealed the deal in his own conviction, let's just say. I think if I was Mueller, it would be Exhibit A in my my presentation of evidence to a grand jury.
Oh, Exhibit A.
Yes, yeah. So if you guys haven't been paying attention, General Flynn, Michael Flynn, who was former national security advisor in the Trump White House.
I'd also like to point out something that's not being mentioned at all on any of these news stories that I'm seeing about Flynn yesterday. Yeah. Even though they talked about it for 24 straight hours, is that Flynn was at one point in the running to be vice president.
Yes.
He was. That's. Trump himself, I'm pretty sure, named him as one of the candidates for vice president.
Yep.
So we might have lucked out of a no Pence thing here and just had Flynn and Trump up the top, and then
yeah, wouldn't have that have been
nice.
But instead he chanted "lock her up" at the.
But when just to go back to it real quick, just so when you read statements from Trump's lawyer, Ty Cobb, by the way,
that's his name.
Yeah, Ty Cobb.
Wonder if he's a racist.
Probably. 100% of all the people named Ty Cobb I've ever heard of were racist, so I assume that all of them are. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Anywho, he said when discussing this, he said it has nothing to do with the way the campaign was run or how anything happened in the White House of operations of the government, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this Obama nominee or this Obama holdover.
Yeah.
Just don't you dare try and try Michael Flynn in with Obama.
Yeah.
Seeing as Obama was the guy who sat down Trump when they sat down in the Oval Office together and was like, don't fucking hire Michael Flynn. This is not going to end well for you.
It's going to be a problem for you.
It's going to be a big problem.
It's going to be a problem for you.
Then Trump's like, oh, fuck you, Obama. I'll hire him just because. Yeah. Just because you hate him so much.
So this week, the latest of the plea deals was arranged. Michael Flynn, who would have been a good soldier, and you would think maybe just taking his secrets to the grave. They said, so you're facing 90 years in prison. He's like, so plea deal? And as part of his plea deal, he has agreed that he is going to give testimony to Robert Mueller about
Cooperate,
whatever he wants. And as of a story that we saw just before we went live today, that testimony is likely to include that at Trump's personal direction, he contacted the Russians about ISIS in Syria.
Yeah.
And that he became a go-between for the campaign and a contact in Russia about other topics, maybe interfering with the election, maybe what was happening in Odessa. Where is that part of where Russia invaded?
Ukraine?
Ukraine.
Yeah.
There you go. In Ukraine. And basically his foreign knowledge experience, his international, like world-based experience, becoming a go-between between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Which, by the way, if Trump personally said, "Hey, reach out to Russia in regarding this issue," that would be breaking the law, federal law. More importantly, if Trump, per his tweet, which was apparently drafted by his lawyer,
somebody who's going to promptly get disbarred.
Yeah, a guy who needs to be disbarred immediately, and who Trump, you need to put a stop payment on whatever check you just sent to him because it's not worth it. Michael Flynn was fired.
Something tells you that was him just laying under the bus for. He's just like, Trump will find me a way to surprise me.
But apparently Trump found out that Michael Flynn lied to the FBI and maybe to the vice president and fired him, which is obstruction of justice. So he admitted in the tweet that he in fact broke the law on that, and Michael Flynn.
Well, technically, just the lawyer who wrote the tweet.
Well, no, because on June 6th of 2017.
But can you make the argument that anything your lawyer makes on behalf of you is a statement of your...
Doesn't matter. Because on June 6th, 2016, an official announcement was made by the White House that anything that comes out on the @RealDonaldJTrump Twitter account should be treated as a statement from the White House.
Yeah.
So the official White House position is that Michael Flynn was fired because he lied to the FBI and the president knew about it.
Right.
Who drafted the tweet? It doesn't matter. You set the policy that this is White House policy when I tweet it from my account. It was tweeted from the account. It doesn't matter who drafted it. That's it. Game over. And this is where
I feel like we need John Oliver to hit the... We did it.
We got him. We got him. Except for, going back to the theme of this here podcast, this particular episode, what the fuck does it matter? And does it really matter? Because your argument was, this is it. This is the smoking gun that we've been looking for.
I said that if Mueller has a guilty plea out of Flynn...
Which he does. They've already entered that guilty plea.
Then the argument I was making to you is that Mueller, at this point, must have enough to formally charge Trump if he wanted to.
Yes.
With even if it's just obstruction of justice, you have something that you could charge Trump with.
Yes.
Is the idea, though, I was asking him more as like a lawyerly strategy question, was if you were in this position, would you rather let the string play out a little bit longer and see if you can bring multiple charges, or are you taking your first and only shot?
I think that he's got way more than one charge.
Oh, I know. I'm sure he has more, but I'm saying, like, would you rather go into battle with what you have right now, or continue to pull the string and see what else you can get, and then try and file everything you can as like one of those, like when you get a lawyer who files 20 charges on somebody for what looks like it would have normally been a one charge crime,
right?
Like the good one is like anytime you get not listening to the commands of a police officer.
Right.
That's usually just tacked on to try and make your life more miserable. Or like disorderly is another good one.
Disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll get thrown on to a list of 5 other charges just to sweeten the pot against you.
So here's what I'll say. I will use an example from my own legal history. I had a client who was involved in a family law case against the defendant in that case. And she put everything about her life on social media. So we were discussing whether or not we wait for certain things to happen to go ahead and file a modification of custody, and or whether we should go ahead and file now. And I said, send me some screenshots of what she puts on social media. So I read through everything, and I said to myself, we should file now, because what's going to happen is she is going to get so worked up about this thing that I may not have points. I have points 1, 2, and 3, but I really like to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
She's going to give me 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 after, based on her reaction to it. And lo and behold, she did. So we went in I just amended the complaint several times as new things came out. And, the next time she got a custodial period, she withheld and didn't return the kid because she was upset that we filed, which she wouldn't have done before. And yes, I baited her into doing it, but it doesn't matter because that got us a hearing. You know what I mean? So you have to know who you're dealing with. And I think that's part of this. We know that this statement is based on Flynn taking guilty plea. Yeah. And Trump trying to distance himself from that. Like, I did the right thing by firing him because he had lied to the FBI, and somebody not realizing over there that that's admitting to a crime.
Yeah.
If I'm Mueller, I think that I file charges because I can get Trump to help out my case by just generally commenting and giving me more ammunition. The problem is, going back to the theme of this episode, what the fuck doesn't matter? Now, why do I ask that?
Because you're convinced that even if Mueller comes with 10 charges and they all look verifiable, and that let's say even that like the P tape happened and we know it happened and we've actually seen the video.
Sure. I would say that pushes it a little bit just because of the Christian conservative nature of the Republicans.
Right.
Absent the man cheating on his wife.
Fuck it. Nothing seems to matter so far. So let's go all in.
She's married.
Yeah.
I moved in on her. I mean,
like a bitch.
Yeah. They could just grab him.
In the pussy.
Yes. Corey at theanthem.com. Yeah.
No,
that was the president.
Yeah,
that was the president of the United States.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was doing didn't you notice I was doing an impression of the president?
I did. No.
Usually it starts with 7 years ago, or it's not what you can do for.
Ask not what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do
for your country. That's
instead. This is she's married. I moved in on her like a bitch.
When you're famous, you can do those sort of things. Grab them by the pussy. Yeah. That's all things a president has said.
Right. Yeah. The list of things now that presidents have said. But no. Yes. But eventually, the Justice Department is going to have to realize that you cannot bring charges in a court against a sitting president. That's not how it works. All of those charges will eventually be forwarded to the Justice Committee in Congress for the formulation of articles of impeachment, which, by the way, there have already been 4 or 5 articles of impeachment. How the well did those go?
They just get brought up and then immediately voted no, and then
don't even make it to committee.
Yeah.
So let's say that Robert Mueller does file the charges and they go to this committee. Maybe they make it to the committee, but they probably don't make it out of committee. And I know that you may be of the faith and belief that they do. I just don't think that they do.
I think that Flynn doesn't help things at all.
Sure.
It turns up the heat way too much. And I feel like if Mueller comes with serious charges, then it'll be listened to. Because I think the Republicans are dying for an opportunity to just rid themselves of Trump. And if they have what looks like a clear mandate from the people, and by the people, I mean from the special counsel, which is investigating on behalf of the people, then I imagine that we would we would get something like, I can't believe Trump did this. All right, Pence, come on in. Pence is good. Don't worry about Pence.
Well, I mean, except for there was a clear mandate against the healthcare bill.
Yellow.
Yeah, it's been yellow the whole time.
Okay, just making sure.
So good.
Yeah.
There was a clear mandate against the healthcare bill. Oh, whoop. Let's go back to the camera. There we go. There's a clear mandate against the healthcare bill. There's a clear mandate against this tax bill. There's a clear mandate against a lot of things. And that doesn't mean that people vote, that the people in Congress are voting with the people of the nation.
No. But I'm saying that I think that at a certain point, Trump is, and I would say has already been this based off of how much the Senate has been able to work this year.
Sure.
I mean, normally if it was Pence who was president, then they'd be rubber stamping a whole lot more shit than they currently are, and not having to worry about the noise that comes with Trump's megaphone getting anywhere close to it.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure that, right now, the Republicans' singular number one focus was passing tax reform, was getting huge tax breaks for the richest that they possibly could, and fuck everybody below. Fuck everybody who needs health insurance. Fuck everybody who has student loans. Fuck everybody who anything. If it doesn't involve getting more money to the richest people, getting rid of the estate tax, then I don't care.
Literally taking away the federal tax write-off for your local taxes that support the schools in your neighborhood, but giving a tax break for private school tuition. Like that's the way we can tie these together.
Here's the
rich
thing.
versus poor.
Real quick, just going back to the tax bill for 1 second, something I remembered is Elizabeth Warren brought up as part of a bill when Obama was in office that the Senate would be able to do student loan forgiveness and universal pre-K, and it would cost $150 billion.
Right.
And the Republicans said, we can't do it because it adds to the deficit. Right. Now, this adds $1 trillion to the deficit. But I just, just another one of those.
It doesn't benefit poor people, and that's
right. Yeah.
That's important. But nonetheless, you have this faith that somehow the House Republicans are going to find their heart and they're going to say, despite our fear of the president and what he can do, we're going to go after him.
I think here's what everyone needs to do. I think that everyone needs to just figure out what their own personal line is. Where are you willing to draw the line for the freedoms that you seek so deeply? Like, for instance, the chair of the FCC. If I was walking through Dulles on my way home for Christmas break, and I see him walking through Dulles at the same time, and I was able to viciously beat the shit out of him, I would happily take the jail time to viciously beat the shit out of him.
But he's going to the private terminal. So
no, but I'm saying, like, he's just walking through at the same time that I am, and I have the opportunity to viciously beat the shit out of him. I'll take the jail time.
Okay.
To especially if I could do it in front of some cameras. That would be fun.
I don't think that you will.
But I'm saying everyone needs to figure out their own line as to what is important, how far you're willing to take.
You're getting way off topic. You believe that this Republican House and this Republican Senate will bring articles of impeachment.
Yes.
They will bring it to trial.
Yeah.
And will convict him and get him out of office.
I think he'll resign before they convict him.
Yeah.
And the Republicans will choose not to go any further than that. They'll let him resign quietly and sit on his money. I would like to see people do jail time. That's my personal line. I don't
care about jail time. I like the guillotine line. That's where I like it. That's where I think it needs to go. Because he will sit on his money and all the influence that he's built in the last year.
Yeah.
And all the power and that he's gained in the last year. And he doesn't care. He's been operating a business while president of the United States, and he won't suffer at all.
Yeah.
And they need to suffer. They all just need to suffer. You know who doesn't need to suffer, though?
Baltimore?
The family of Detective Suter from Baltimore.
Yeah.
And what we really need to get is some answers. And to get answers, of course, we go down to the Baltimore Corner.
Where you get the straight dope.
Right. So if you've been following along for the last few weeks on the podcast, we've been talking about this case of Detective Suter, which has more twists and turns than an Eastern Shore country road. So it started out that West Baltimore was on lockdown as they searched for the shooter of this detective.
Meanwhile, the shooter was in the house.
Meanwhile, we found out last week, I think last week we talked about on the podcast that you need like a cough button or something.
I know.
We found out right before the podcast last week that he shot with his own weapon.
Yeah.
And now, and that he was going to testify before the federal grand jury.
Yeah, against the indicted cops. Who are also, by the way, getting drugs sent in from Seattle.
Yeah, that's what we found
out.
So
they're acquiring drugs from Seattle. They're selling drugs in Philadelphia. We don't know where else this goes yet, but I brought up the point to Rob that maybe we need some RICO charges here.
Well, first of all, you'd have to bring in the feds, and luckily... Luckily, it looks like the FBI will be on the ground in Baltimore now.
Federales are getting involved.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I think that there are RICO charges. I think that's pending against the Drug Task Force guys. But nonetheless, we first heard that he'd been killed with his own service weapon, that there was a struggle. And what we found out this week, though, is that there was no one else in the vacant lot where his body was found. Mm-hmm. So, of course, Baltimore Commissioner Kevin Davis's reaction is, well, it was probably suicide. Despite the fact that there was a radio traffic of a struggle just before the shot.
Technically, it wasn't Kevin Davis who said that. It was just the investigators in the Baltimore Police Department.
Okay,
I mean, it's not like Kevin Davis was just like, maybe it was suicide. He was like, all right, well, I guess it sounds pretty dumb. Should we write it? Write it.
But they've started with suspect at large matching no description. Mm-hmm. Suspect at large matching description of large black male between 22 and 45, between 6 foot and 7 foot. And,
okay, so there's
black.
There's not 400,000 of those people in Baltimore,
right? And then it became, well, he killed. There was no other weapon. He was killed with his own weapon. And then it became there was no one else in the lot, so maybe he shot himself. Mm-hmm. And the only video that exists is a video of his partner, who apparently also had connections with the gun task force guys.
Yeah,
and the video of him is supposedly him coming out of the corner of the vacant lot and taking cover behind a car when the shot rings out.
Yeah.
But there's not really a way that we can tell that is what's happening in that moment.
Right.
It could be I killed the guy and then I go to the corner and I'm like, all right, 3, 2, 1, run out, get behind a car. Like, oh. Yeah, see, that's me taking cover when I heard the gunshot go off.
Right.
And I don't know. This is the kind of thing where, I don't know where there's a good explanation, but it is looking more and more as if the Baltimore police murdered one of their own detectives in order to keep him quiet about a grand jury investigation. And I don't know.
Hold on a second. Maybe you can make the case to me.
Yeah.
That police abuse has gotten so far that somebody died from it.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe,
in the back of a van, perhaps?
You can make the case to me that police set up somebody who is now going to be sentenced in like a week.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, not in a week. In several days.
In several days.
Yeah. If you don't know who Corey's talking about.
That somebody was illegally detained and is now going to spend the rest of their lives in jail because of police misconduct. Maybe.
If you don't know who Corey's talking about.
Hold on a second.
Wait,
you can get back to it.
Go ahead.
Just maybe you can convince me that was possible. If you're telling me that Baltimore police can be a part of an elaborate drug conspiracy that goes to both coasts and up and down 95, maybe. Just maybe you can convince me. But if you're trying to tell me that the same Baltimore Police Department that did all that ridiculous shit is also willing to kill one of their police officers, I find that a bridge too far and say good day to you, sir.
Yes. Well, I'm sure the FOP would agree with you in that. Like, listen, maybe they sold drugs. Maybe they set up some people.
Maybe they killed somebody in a high-speed fatality when they knew that the person in the car that they were chasing didn't have drugs. Maybe.
And maybe they went and had somebody bring drugs to the scene to plant in the car to make it worthwhile.
And maybe the officer that was going to find it, quote-unquote, find the drugs, was Detective Suter.
Yes.
Who the same police said was so stupid that he didn't, or like was dumb and clueless. That was it.
He would never know. So just go play the drugs.
Never know
let Suter
call Suter.
Yeah, find Suter. He'll find them. He's good at finding them. He just won't know how they got there. And anyway, so the case that Corey is mentioning, of course, is Keith Davis Jr., a man who was,
which we brought up before.
Yes, we've talked about him probably 3 or 4 times over the course of the podcast. But he was shot. I think they fired 44 or 47 rounds by the Baltimore Police Department. They justified that shooting by saying he had a gun. There was a gun dropped in the general vicinity of him that had not been fired, despite the fact that they said he fired first at them. He was a victim, or not a victim, but he was found to have a mistrial. Yes, he was a suspect. There was a trial in May. A mistrial was declared. They retried him in October. That he was convicted at that trial, and now he's coming up on sentencing. So he will be sentenced this week. He comes to the courtroom in a wheelchair because he has been disabled by the shooting. And basically what the family believes and what I personally believe, is that they were trying to kill him and then put this other crime on him, which may or may not have been committed by actual Baltimore City police officers. The shooting of a guard at Pimlico.
Yeah.
To which there is very little evidence. What little there is circumstantial, but they played the game of find a jury that will convict him and only show the evidence that will get him convicted.
Right.
Interfere with his defense as much as possible. Make him as unable to aid in that defense as possible.
Lean on the state's attorney as much as humanly possible.
Yes.
You fucked us real bad on this Freddie Gray stuff. Now you're going to fucking get in line on this one.
Yeah. And you keep pursuing it despite the fact that there's no evidence of it. All of those things. And a man is going to spend the rest of his life in jail, which will be very short given the kind of medical care he's gotten thus far. The last time we were talking about this issue, it was because a judge had ordered them to take him to the hospital, and the state of Maryland appealed that. In a way, my feeling is hoping that he would die before the appeal could be heard. And instead, the Court of Appeals took it immediately and said, no, this is absolutely right. Take him to the hospital. So they were forced to do that and saved his life, temporarily at least. This is the same Baltimore Police Department, the one that will shoot a man, drop a gun, try to pin him into a murder, and then push the state's attorney, which, by the way, the great savior of Baltimore City, Marilyn Mosby. How well has that?
Stood up against them cops, yo.
Yeah, really stood up against some cops. But maybe not so much. And she has been an accessory to the false conviction of Keith Davis Jr. And now she will be an accessory to what is essentially his murder by putting him in prison for the rest of his life. And going to the continuing theme of what the fuck does it matter? Because no matter how much people scream from the treetops that this is wrong and that it's clearly there's evidence that's been tampered with and that the cops are not to be trusted and all of these things, no one seems to care. And the top judge in Baltimore City, by the way, speaking of Harvey Weinstein, out. Top judge in Baltimore City, out now on allegations of sexual misconduct.
Actually, no.
Was it not sexual misconduct?
No, it was just misconduct on the bench.
Oh, I thought it was sexual misconduct.
I mean, there was a level of... So like essentially what he was doing was he would be very very brusque and rude to attorneys in his courtroom.
Female attorneys specifically.
Especially female attorneys, and he would give a lot of like, "Come on, lady, I don't got time for your shit."
Right.
Like from the bench. And that didn't stand well with the Bar Association.
Sure.
And they basically he was Baltimore or Maryland has mandatory retirement for judges once they reach a certain age. 70.
Yeah.
So you can be on the bench as long as you want, but you're done at 70, and he is at 69 in 6 months or whatever. Yeah. So he's gonna lose out on like his judge pension.
No, he doesn't, because they're allowing him to step down, and he gets his pension.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, interesting. Talbot County judge, guy who was 69 when he was put up for the bench, served for 8 months until he turned 70, was basically a gift from the governor to give him a pension for the rest of his life, because he served on the bench for 8 months and he gets a lifetime pension at that rate.
Must be nice.
So yeah, again, what do any of these things do to improve one iota the life of an average American? Nothing. You, him, me, we are worthless in this system. We are expendable workforce. Labor that is meant to give our blood and toil to someone else to make them richer. And when we do get a little pot of savings for ourselves, they want to take that away too, so that they can spend that as well. So this is capitalism that you all love so dearly. The police are really the armed force of the oligarchy to impose their will. And what we get out of that is cops selling drugs that they're importing from Seattle and taking off of drug dealers and then reselling back to the same drug dealers and going to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. and selling those drugs. And planting guns on innocent people. And congratulations, America. This is what you've signed up for. 200 years ago, a bunch of guys said, we don't want to have the crown imposing their will on us anymore. So we're going to...
Without guns, you can have King George come over here and push you around all you want.
Yeah. But so back to the theme. What the fuck does any of it matter? Because none of you out there, unfortunately,
are willing to throw a flaming bottle through a window
to do anything about it. So, I'm not even saying throwing a flaming bottle through a window. I'm saying, how about go out on a march and not just sing Melissa Etheridge songs in a drum circle?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, if we're talking about protest, I could come up with a whole bunch of different ways to make that compelling.
Dude, how about we mask up and carry some tiki torches down the center of a road? That seemed to work to get a lot of attention.
That got a lot of attention. It did.
I'm not saying that we're marching for the same thing. I'm saying that protest got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So maybe we do that. Or maybe we find no, I'm not going to say that.
You're not going to suggest anything that.
Not going to suggest anything more that might be taken farther out of context. But none of this matters. And listen, we're going to keep talking about these topics specifically because Corey wants to continue to talk about this stuff. But I've reached the point where I am telling you none of this matters. I fully believe that the president of the United States could step out of his mansionous building, his multi-floor penthouse onto Fifth Avenue and shoot someone in cold blood. So long as that person was poor and of color, nothing would happen to him. And he called.
I don't even know if it has to be poor and of color.
I mean, poor white is fine. As long as it's not a rich white person, that's going to be the problem.
Well, I mean, I think that there's rich white people who like if he shot Hillary.
Oh, I mean,
like if she was just walking past and
he
he's
shot
fuck
her.
you, bitch.
Yeah, he'd probably
get away with that.
But his supporters are never going to leave him. I can't imagine we have that many GOP conservative people who listen to the podcast, but all of you, he could do no wrong. And even if you don't like him, you still support people like Ted Cruz or Paul, or not Paul, Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Rand Paul, who is a libertarian, right? Right?
I mean, I would argue that
voted for this bill, by the way. Voted for the Senate tax bill. But none of this, that's why none of this matters.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Rand Paul.
Rand Paul, the son.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about his dad.
Yeah. Rand Paul, libertarian, hardcore libertarian. Don't increase the deficit, small government.
Yeah.
Vote for a tax bill that increases the deficit and is a giveaway to rich people.
Yeah.
So long as they're like him and they're rich and white. One of Corey's favorite people, Rand Paul. But that goes back to the theme of this week's show, which is that none of this matters. So you can still come here for the news of the week, and I'll sit here and rant about how none of it matters.
We'll have fun with it.
But just so you guys know, until some of you are willing to just get out and get into the streets, then none of this really matters.
Well, you want to know something that really matters?
What's that?
OhTheAnthem.com. Corey at OhTheAnthem.com. OhTheAnthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595.
And you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Yeah, right there, just like that. Disembodied hand. You can make sure you check out my website, robertncheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, foundingthefuture.us, the news website, adeaddrop.com, and the books, which are available on Amazon.
Barrow's Books.
Thank you, sir. And of course, if you're looking for a little inspiration on what to do in these current political times, nothing better than the movement Insurrection.
Available at all local bookstores.
Unfortunately not.
Well, there's no local bookstores anymore. So
available on Amazon. But yes, check that
out. Anywhere where fine books are sold.
No. Well, there aren't that many fine books anymore. So
yeah.
It is available where fine books are sold. Amazon.com.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's
We've
good.
done nothing. Literally nothing.
None of this matters at all. But as always, you're listening to the The Anthem podcast, part of the The Anthem Digital Network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Expose the bourgeoisie!